Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 171, and it is probably the most long overdue sequel ever. This week in the discussion, as you can probably see by the title of this, we are going to be revisiting our very first ever podcast discussion topic. No, I do not recommend you going back and listening to that first episode. It's just...
Oh, Lord, no.
Just no. I'm going back and listening to them all for a project that we've got down the road. But God, why did you listen to us in the early days? But our very first discussion, leaping off the back of the name Uncharted Media, was can video game adaptations work? Whether it's film, TV, whatever else. I was on the side of yes, they can back then, and I'm still on that side now. But we thought it was prevalent to bring that discussion up now. One, to try and, piggyback off that search engine optimization for Sonic 2 right now. Because, relevance. And two, I'm sure Josh will disagree with this, but in the world of media and entertainment, especially video games, a lot has changed since September 2018. And also, we've been doing this since September 2018. That's
crazy.
Weird to say, but yeah.
That's 4 years.
Not quite.
Yeah, basically.
It's like a little over 3.5, but okay.
Now, come on. I was rounded up a year, half a year. Come on.
Sure. But Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm chilling, my dude. I had the best day yesterday. I mean, I had to work, but it was like a super slow shift and all that. But I got up and read. I'm a good halfway through the book I'm working on. I went to the movies.
I had a good BM.
I had several good BMs.
Don't tell me bad news.
Maybe you told me bad news in a good way, it wouldn't be so bad. Why are you laughing, you idiot? Anyway, I love how whenever we have a spare moment, we always degrade into making references to Men in Tights.
Well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the context. No news is good news.
You're not wrong. Oh man, it's been a chill couple of days. Work's been kicking my butt lately because I don't know, people are leaving the house now or something. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
But you said you went to the movies yesterday. What'd you watch?
I did. I just went and saw Sonic 2, and no less, I went and saw it by myself. I sat down and I was just chilling in the nice seats by myself. It was the first time I've done that in a really, really long time. It might be something I do a lot more in the future, because that way I can see things in the theaters. So, but I saw that. I'll kind of save my opinion of that until our discussion later, because there's a lot of caveats on it, I think. I also, that episode 2 of Moon Knight, pretty solid. Got to see a lot more stuff. My brother, fan of the show, Ben Johnson, who has always wanted us to do a Jar Jar Binks as a Sith
Lord
thing. I'm always going to mention. I have to mention it just for him. But he was he's been frustrated for the first 2 episodes, and I kind of understand.
What? Because Jar Jar isn't Moon Knight?
No. And I understand in a way, because it's on a certain, I guess, spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, in a certain way, you're just Steven, shut up. Let Mark take over. Come on. We want to see some cool stuff. Just shut up. Stop babbling. Move out of the way. And the best way that he can describe it is when, because he plays a lot of Apex, and he's it's when me watching my wife play Apex and I can't do anything, even though if I took the controller it would be so much better. It was I get that, that I understand that, but it's still a good time regardless. But I also started a new show this past week. Not any of the ones that I've had on my backlog that you're Josh, you need to watch this. One, I mean, I've been wanting to see it for a while, but I don't know if you've ever heard of Ridley Scott's Raised by Wolves.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. Isn't HBO Max?
Yes, it's on both seasons are on HBO Max, and I am 2 episodes in, and this is the wildest ride I think I have ever been on in a Ridley Scott movie. And I've seen Prometheus, um, but like, God, it's so interesting the way that he's weaving actual like Earth history and religion and those themes, and like even the Crusade themes into like a sci-fi thriller. I think I'm gonna go with thriller, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. Yeah, it's very, very intense. But what about you? Did you see? You didn't see anything this week?
Well, I saw, Sonic 2, obviously.
Yeah.
But I will also save my thoughts for the end, but just an abridged version. I loved it. And without tipping my hand too much for the discussion, I'll have to think about it a little bit more. But I think it's the best video game movie we've ever gotten. But I'm sure there'll be more of a discussion on that in the meantime. But I enjoyed it. Also, last night, just because I was bored and Heather went to bed already, and I had finished the graphics for the week, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to pop on a schlocky horror movie because that's what I do. Josh, have you ever heard of a movie called Urban Legend?
That sounds super familiar, but like it's one of those like I've heard of a movie that called that, but I don't know anything else about it.
So Urban Legend is like so 90s of like I Know What You Did Last Summer or Halloween H2O, very much like Who's in It, but it's supposed to be like a slasher is basically taking inspirations from like urban legends, obviously, like someone is hiding in your back seat if you don't check, or it kind of forgets the whole urban legend thing for most of the movie. It's just like, oh, is that an urban legend? Or like the old urban legend of like, hey, if you see a car driving the opposite way of you and their headlights aren't on, don't flash them because it might be gang initiation. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing I haven't heard in a very long time.
What?
Have you not heard that one before?
I mean, that hits like a very specific, like, that sounds like something I've heard before, but also in adult brain makes no sense.
Yeah, but it forgets to really double down on the urban legend. But it's super weird because I'm watching it's a who's who of both 90s, but also like a hall of fame of horror people. So here are some of the people that are in this, either in bit parts or in much larger roles. We could have talked about it this week because it ties into Morbius, because Jared Leto's in it.
Oh gosh.
Jared Leto is one of the main characters. Smallville's Michael Rosenbaum is in it, which was
what in the world?
Super bizarre. Halloween 4 and 5's Danielle Harris is in it. Shocker as a goth chick.
Oh wow, no way, really?
Chucky's Brad Dourif. Freddy Krueger's Robert Englund.
Jeez, yeah, what in the world?
And Tara Reid from Sharknado. I know she's been in other stuff, but Sharknado is what I will refer her to as. I'm just going.
It's only Sharknado.
It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going. This is such a 90s time capsule. It's also like one of those people, you remember the first Final Destination, the girl that got hit by the bus that was supposed to be scary, but it ended up being really, really funny, that she's like, you all could just drop dead. Bam! Gets hit by the bus. She was in it too. I'm going, oh, hey, you're bus face. It's not a good movie, but it's a very interesting 90s time capsule that I think they are doing a new version of that because the concept of an urban legend killer is interesting. It also like goes 0 to 100 real quick in terms of its violence, of like some kills are not that bad or they're off screen, and other ones I'm going, is the director working through some problems? Like, apparently there's an urban legend about a woman that when her dog comes in from the rain, just microwaves the dog. And I'm going, that's
what? Oh,
that's not an urban legend. So yeah, that happens in this movie. I'm going, Jesus. And then the guy who owned the dog basically gets like one of those like beer funnels that you always see in movies. I don't know. I didn't go to parties. But like he's got a funnel shoved down his throat, and they like put paint and Clorox down the funnel. I'm going, jeez, are you working through some issues? But like those are only two like hardcore kills. Everything else is kind of like 90s PG-13 violence. But I'm going, those two specific kills, what is wrong with you? Why do you hate dogs and Michael Rosenbaum? He's like the only good thing in Smallville right now. But I'm just shocked. I'm going, because I'm watching it going, this isn't very R. Oh, that's
Oh, that's
very R.
Oh no! Oh no! Yeah. Oh, let me tell you, it's always a good time to watch a B movie. I mean, I would probably watch a lot more given my living situation. But yeah, no, yeah, it's oh, I know how much you and I love Cinema Wins. The today I think he's re-releasing some stuff.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off for a little bit.
Yeah, because he just released like a Infinity War. Is everything great about Infinity War? I think it's a re-release.
It's putting the
Um,
two parts together.
okay, that makes sense. Um, so I actually went through and rewatched his Infinity War and then all three of his Endgame videos. And gosh dang it, did it like there was moments I was like, yeah, like that kind of impact, like in my brain thinking back and yeah, that was kind of emotionally impactful. Yeah, that's fine. And then it like he plays the scene. I had like instant goosebumps and like tears. I was like, oh no, that actually emotionally impacted me. Oh no. It's just good. It kind of makes me want to slog through the mountain that is the Infinity Saga, the first 20 movies
Like
of the
23 or
Avengers.
something.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to read that, go all the way through it, just like out of nostalgia's sake. And I mean, my mom's seen all of Harry Potter now, so time to step it up.
Well, here's the thing. There's no misses in the Harry Potter movies. There's some misses in the MCU. We'll say that.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
still trying to figure out what I need to watch before Multiverse of Madness or watch with Heather before Multiverse of Madness. I mean, obviously the first Doctor Strange, but besides that, I'm like, do I need to watch X-Men? Do I need to
Nah.
watch the Fantastic Four with Yoan Gruffard? Um, but yes,
Yeah.
that supposedly has a bunch of surprises in it. Like critics are not allowed to see it until like 2 days before the general public's allowed to see it for like sake of keeping spoilers under wraps. I'm going, oh,
Dang.
I like that.
That's new, isn't it? Because normally it's like
Oh,
2 weeks
depends on the
or like
movie.
longer.
Endgame like came out that Thursday.
Okay, so it kind of depends.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, yeah, we've been watching all kinds of stuff.
So let's get into some news because we're jam packed. We had to like cut down on some stuff this week because we just have so much. But kicking us off, streaming stuff. As Stranger Things, last time we heard from that was a decade ago, maybe at this point. But now we actually have a trailer for Netflix Stranger Things season 4. What I'd imagine is season 4 part 1 because they announced not too long ago that season 4 will be split into 2 parts before season 5 comes out down the road. I don't want to say I was not super excited for Stranger Things, but like it was in the back of my mind just because it's been
Yeah.
so long since season 3. As much as I loved season 3, I love seeing the giant mind flare in the mall. Steve and Dustin continue to be like the two greatest TV characters ever created.
Hmm.
And Steve realizes, oh, so I'm the Girl Scout troop leader here, basically. And Nancy just continues to exist. I hope for either some character growth or she gets eaten by this new terrifying looking thing that kind of looks like Hellraiser. So we get this trailer, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved it because it just feels so much grander and more epic. Like it kind of, I want to say offsets or makes the big time gap okay because it is still kind of weird seeing the Stranger Things kids in high school now.
Hmm.
But seeing how much bigger and broader the scope seems to be, and they seem to be really ramping up for a big epic finale, I'm on board with. But the thing that I'm most on board with was seeing what appears to be the new big bad for this season, and it's a humanoid as opposed to another generic tentacle spider cloud looking thing. Like, the Demogorgon and the Demodogs were cool for a time, but you get sick of them after a while. Like, I was hoping for season 3 that we get a different villain. Like, I know the Mind Flayer was something, but it's basically just a bigger version of a Demogorgon. It wasn't
Yeah.
interesting. They're just mindless monsters. But this, the voice is creepy. The design is creepy. My mind immediately went to, oh, so you're designing this with a Horror Nights house in mind. and you probably have this costume already made for some character that's gonna pop out. That being said, the design looks awesome. I really dug this trailer. I really like the song choice. It was different. I can't hate Journey. Journey's a good choice. Um, Josh, I think you're not as big of a Stranger Things fan as I am, but you keep up with the show. What did you think of this
Yeah.
trailer?
I like you. Like I enjoyed. I think season 3 might be my favorite season. Out of the three, first is pretty good. 2 is a thing that happened, and 3 is to me like top tier. I still to this day, I wish they would have kept the reveal that Hopper's alive to this trailer. Would have been cooler to be like, oh cool, he is alive. All right, cool. Let's see what he's doing. Um, Whereas opposed to like that little quote unquote teaser that was literally just him turning around while working in Siberia, it was like, all right, cool, whatever. But I like this, and I like the idea of them moving away from Hawkins and like actually like having to come to terms with the life that was before and try to reconcile and kind of create this new life, even though like they are definitely the weirdos. Um, I like the new baddie. I actually like the thing about the Mind Flayer, as cool as it was, is it is this otherworldly creature, and at no point really did it like come through to be the actual villain. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh, the Mind Flayer will get you. It was, oh no, the Russians might open the crack and then they'll come. The Mind Flayer will be the big baddie. Now this guy, yeah, he looks like a cross between Hellraiser and the what is the White Walkers from Game of Thrones.
Mixed with a little bit of Slenderman, mixed with a little
Yeah,
bit of humanoid xenomorph.
yeah, like it'll be interesting to say the least. I appreciate they give us just enough to know, hey, 11. I don't remember 11 losing her powers in season 3, but I guess maybe I need to go back and
It's
rewatch
because
that.
Hopper's not there anymore.
Oh, of course, yeah, and Hopper was the source of her power.
You never know.
But yeah, it looks cool. It looks super cool. I'm super down. It's the other show that I'm heavily considering going through, at least with my dad, just to get ready for season 4, especially after this trailer.
Yeah, I'll be going back and watch it with Heather too, just because it's been so long that I kind of forget details. Like I remember all the characters, like Dustin and Max and Steve and Nancy and Will, but I'm like I kind of want a refresher about like the entire first 3 seasons. Well, 1 and 3. I'll skip season 2. Season 2 can suck it. Um, but like I kind of want to go back and get some of the details correct. My favorite is still season 1, primarily because the first season was the most, what felt like the most horror centric. Like it felt like
That's fair.
it got, I don't want to say more family friendly over time, but it discovered its audience more so after the first season when it really blew up, and I think they were trying to cater to that teenage demographic that they were really roping in. With that first one, when we are first introduced to the Demogorgon and everything, we don't see it for a really long time, so they're really building up that like Jaws-esque suspense and
Yeah.
really building up the terror, and so it felt like a horror series. This trailer felt like an horror epic. Like the creature designs are terrifying. It has a very dark trailer, not just in terms of tone, but in terms of like visually, not Alien versus Predator Requiem dark, but I think it'll take it back more to season 1 levels. And also we know this is the second to last season, so this will probably start really ramping things up before the big epic finale. If you're following storytelling, that means this will probably end on a sour note. Like everyone will come together, it'll do great, and then it'll meet this new guy and he just wastes them all super quick, barely an inconvenience. Like just set him up as a proper heel, as a proper bad guy.
Yeah.
They'll probably like really milk the reunion between 11 and Hopper till like the season finale, like they did with season 2.
Mhm.
But Hopper looks awesome. I cannot wait to see Hopper with a flaming spear. Like he's come such a long way from morning. Mondays are for coffee and contemplation. Coffee and contemplation. Now we see him in a Siberian prison with a flaming spear fighting demogorgons on the regular and going, so that's what happens when you're in a Black Widow movie and are the best thing about that movie. I'm looking forward to this. I do think it's cool that they said every episode in season 4 will, I think they said it'll be over an hour every episode. I'm going,
Nice.
so we're not going to get WandaVisioned or Loki'd or Mando'd here, and we'll have like 34-minute episodes with 7-minute credits. No, Netflix doesn't do the 7-minute credits thing. They just immediately start playing your next thing, whether you want to watch it or not. But this looks awesome. I'm really excited to see what direction we go with Stranger Things because, like I said, I like the show a lot. I just wonder how much of the audience will come back because of how big of a break it took. Streaming has kind of changed a little bit since Stranger Things was last with us. Now, this is a very interesting development. So we know a Ahsoka Tano series is in the works for Disney Plus. Well, it seems like we're going to start getting production on that soon, as we have at least one of the directors announced for the show, and boy, is it a big one. Peter Ramsey, one of the directors of the critically acclaimed and almost universally beloved by fans and critics alike, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, Peter Ramsey will be directing at least one episode of the Ahsoka Tano series. As we always say, as we steal from someone else's show, it never hurts to add talent. And after Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Ramsey could direct an adaptation of the phone book, and I would still be interested just because of how much goodwill was garnered off of the back of Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know how much of that was his directing style with his partner on the movie, how much of that was Lord Miller's writing. Just Into the Spider-Verse, I don't want to say gives those directors a free pass for a couple movies, but basically gives those directors a free pass for a couple movies. You're allowed to make 3 or 4 bad movies in a row before I start questioning you just because of how good Into the Spider-Verse is. Josh, you see one of the directors for Into the Spider-Verse is doing at least one Ahsoka episode. Does that make you more or less excited? And where is your current excitement level for this Ahsoka show?
Yeah, no, it makes me excited. I am of the opinion, while I love the multiple directors thing, and I know it's kind of, how do I say this, quote unquote traditional for different people to direct different episodes. I personally have always thought that shows are usually better with one singular vision, one singular director. But with that being said, it's Peter Ramsey. For Into the Spider-Verse is fantastic. For those who are listening who haven't watched it, what are you doing? Why do you live under a rock? How have you not seen it? Fantastic. Easily one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. I am super stoked for Ahsoka. And I think even more stoked after, as much as I didn't like it, even more stoked after Boba. Because I think at the very least, while they did kind of change some things about Boba, bringing in other characters that we didn't think we'd ever see, which to me means Ezra and Great Admiral Thrawn. I cannot talk
Great
today, bro.
Admiral.
Great Admiral Thrawn. Love that guy. Well,
yeah.
Oh, what a guy. I had him over for the... Anyway, I'm not going to go into that bit. Let's not do that.
Duh, Thrawn. Duh, Thrawn.
He's definitely on the way. And I think to me that is even more exciting. Especially seeing what he's been doing all this time. Yeah, it'll be cool. Be fun. I'm still on the fence. I forget her name that plays Ahsoka.
Rosario Dawson?
Yes. You know how terrible I am with names.
Your name is Josh, and this is episode 171.
Who? Me? Me, not Josh. Me, Josh. Who? This episode's turning out weird, bro. I'm excited regardless. I definitely don't think that the margin for error here is smaller or bigger, I don't know, than Boba, because with Boba, it was a character we'd never had on screen, really, and so they definitely had to kind of build from the ground up, whereas Ahsoka has a lot of content behind her, so you are able to build off of that as opposed to just going from scratch.
Well, also, Ahsoka is Dave Filoni's baby more than
Hmm.
anything else Star Wars related. He created her for the Clone Wars show. He stuck it out when everyone hated the character because season one Ahsoka is one of the most reviled Star Wars characters of all time. But through sheer grit and determination and growing her up a few years, um, she basically became one of the most beloved fan characters of all time. So I highly doubt Dave Filoni is just going to throw all that out the window.
Yeah.
He's very protective of the character, and I guarantee you, Dave Filoni is going to direct at least one episode of Ahsoka. Every time there's a Star Wars show that has Filoni directing it, is kind of when the important stuff happens.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a narcissism thing of like I gotta make sure that I'm doing this episode. I think it's a I'm the one that did this with the Clone Wars. I know probably the best way to introduce these. Like Ahsoka showed up in Mando on a Dave Filoni episode. I think Bo-Katan showed up in a
Hmm.
Dave Filoni episode, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does one episode of Ahsoka. My question is, and I don't think I've asked this before, and I doubt it because it's just now popped in my head, which is always dangerous. We're kind of expecting Ezra and Thrawn to be the story catalyst for this show
Hmm.
because Thrawn got name dropped in Mando season 2. For those that watch Rebels, we know that Thrawn and Ezra were kind of beamed off by space whales. Um,
Which is still one of the coolest finales ever.
most random, most
Like,
random.
oh, so cool.
But we have the space whales, and this will probably be the main catalyst of the story. Do we think Ezra and or Thrawn could be the Luke Skywalker type secret, or do you think we would get the casting ahead of time? Like, do you think if Ezra and Thrawn are in the show that they would keep it quiet, or we'd be like, hey, you know those fan casts of Aladdin's Mina Masoud? Yeah, he's gonna be our Ezra at some point, but maybe keep the Thrawn thing hidden. Do you think they would hide that casting, or do you think it'd be like a Luke Skywalker thing, keep it hidden as best as you can, or do you think they would announce it to build up hype?
Um, I can see them announcing Thrawn because especially if he's going to be the main baddie, at least like keep it till the first episode, like before the first episode drops or something like that. Um, something happened recently where somebody was cast and then it was like after the show, or I don't remember. We talked about it recently. Somebody was cast in something, and then it was obvious that they had been there. They would have had to have been there the whole time. Um, but to me, I think you have to. Thrawn is the obvious one. I'm okay with them hiding Ezra. Um, as much as I love the Ezra connection to Ahsoka and Sabine, I think definitely Thrawn's going to be more important as far as a story. You have to have your villain first, and Ezra will just be icing on the cake.
Now, I will say both characters are incredibly niche of like the diehardest of the diehard Star Wars fans know
Yeah,
who Ezra and Thrawn are. That being said, of the two of them, I think they would announce Ezra and not Thrawn because
interesting.
Thrawn is the of the two names there, Thrawn is the bigger one. I think even with those who are just kind of casual with the no longer canon, but some parts are now canonized, EU stuff, people might be familiar with the name Thrawn, or at least have seen his picture before. There's been a whole Timothy Zahn newly canon trilogy, so I think that name is out there enough in the canonized ether that
That's
I
fair.
think of the two that might be the more familiar, so they keep that on the back burner. Like introduce him in season one, like you did with Moff Gideon, and then he be the main villain going forward. I don't think they're just going to waste Thrawn. I think he's going to be a major factor going forward. I highly doubt he'll show up in Obi-Wan just because of the time difference, but
Yeah,
he was growing up the ranks around that time, so it wouldn't be completely unheard of, I don't think.
no.
Next, we switch from the world of Star Wars to the world of DC with arguably a character that Josh and I really, really enjoy. I just have one or two questions about how this is functionally going to work. And that is HBO Max is developing an Aqualad origin series. I believe it's supposed to just be a limited series, like more or less like a one season thing. It'll be produced by Charlize Theron of all people. Going, interesting. Now, in the comics, there have been multiple versions of Aqualad. They have specified that this will be the Calderon version that we know from the Young Justice show, the one that got his own comic series. I think he's got a new one coming out now. I'm down for this for the most part. I kind of struggle with Calder at times because, yes, I like his character a lot in Young Justice, but at times I feel like while he's a great character, he's unfortunately used as a political tool a lot of times. Of like DC, it's just like, look how diverse we are. Puts Aqualad on the cover of everything else. I'm just going, is that it? Is it your only character? But I love him in Young Justice a lot for the most part. This does kind of give me a little bit of a platform that I'll kind of rant about season 4 in a little bit here. But when Josh and I would watch Young Justice in college, I think you and I both, Aqualad was up there for our favorite characters. Obviously, he'll never be my number one favorite for obvious reasons. But Aqualad was one of the few like fully developed and fully mature characters from the get-go. There's an aquatic elephant in the room, though. Is this connected to the Momoa thing or not? Is this a separate thing? Which is fine. But is it connected or not? I just want that clarification because as it stands right now, I don't know if Momoa's like, I don't want to say mature or grown enough, but he hasn't been Aquaman long enough to have an Aqualad.
Yeah, yep. It just kind of depends on timing, right? Because obviously this is going to come way down the road and definitely after Aquaman 2. And so maybe there'll be growth there that we will feel like, oh yeah, I can see him taking somebody under his wing. Kind of weird. All right, fine. Maybe someone to replace Mira.
Not the same type of dynamic there.
No. Not relationship wise. I'm just
not
saying
the same type of
character and team formation wise, because he's also kind of like how would you say, a water magic user?
Yeah, he's kind of like Mara in terms of he has some water sorcery. There's a name for the water sorcery too, but I forget.
Yeah,
it's not water bending. That's somebody else's
different
shtick.
Show.
That's somebody else's shtick.
Yeah. See, I think the cool thing about Aqualad, at least for us when we were watching The Injustice, is he was the one going into the show we knew the least about. At least personally for me, I had never heard of him.
I was used to the Teen Titans.
Yeah, but I had
Aqualad.
I had no
hydrokinesis.
Hydrokinesis. I'll take it. Sure. Fine. Whatever. Water sorcery still sounds cooler.
Frickin' bubbles. How do they work?
I don't know. Why do Atlanteans need water to talk? Anyway, all that to say, it'll be interesting. I'm excited. Kind of question mark. It's one of the like you said, like it's gonna depend on, is this quote unquote canon? Where's this in the timeline? Are we building to something with all these original series? Bro, if we get like an original, like a Teen Titans movie and it's not the quote unquote core cast, I'm super down. I'm okay with that. If you do it, a live action Injustice,
we had that. It was called the Snyderverse.
No. Live Jack. Jack be in there.
Black is playing Aqualad.
Plug my brain into the movie screen. With Blue Beetle, Aqualad, maybe get some maybe Dick Grayson will show up by then. Who knows? Like I just like, there's a lot of potential, I think, to spin him into other stuff. We'll see what happens. It is, I think the weirdest part about it is that it's Charlize Theron who's producing it.
I didn't know she produced movies, but I'm so glad you brought up the crossover thing, because at first I was like, oh, cool, Aqualad. Again, there's higher priority characters that I would like to see on the big screen someday, but again, this is a small screen. Cool. How do I put this as nicest way possible? this character and this potential storyline definitely seems like something HBO would pursue. HBO
Yeah.
and HBO Max kind of like the non-traditional characters, which I guess is why they've been so successful. But my main thought when I saw this, when I thought about it for more than an hour, I was like, oh yeah, we also have Batgirl coming with rumors of Robin at some point. I'm going to jump from A to J right now and just assume that they're slowly building up a Teen Titans or a Young Justice squad with this new universe that's, put on hold because of Ezra Miller. Also, this is completely unrelated, but it's somehow connected back to DC. Whatever happened to J.J. Abrams? Remember how, beginning 2020-ish, before everything hit, JJ and Bad Robot signed that $500 million contract with Warner Brothers. Why have we heard nothing about that since? I mean, maybe it's Rise of Skywalker related, but and they're trying to hide that. But I feel like I've seen his name attached to two things as a producer. But besides that, I thought they signed him for all that money to, do stuff. Where's JJ's stuff? I would not be surprised if they're leading up to a Teen Titans. Actually, my bigger fear is that Warner Brother, that the creatives for this are like, we want to tell an Aqualad story. Cool. And then the higher ups are going, so y'all planning to cross this over someday, right? They're like, nah, actually we were planning on making this its own romantic superhero story. With just a little bit of superhero stuff, but more or less like a romantic coming-of-age story. Nah. Y'all thinking of crossing it over, right? Right? Because we do crossovers around here. Y'all can have your little romance, but end of the day, we need crossovers. And they'll be like, okay, sure. It'll be a crossover now. That's the right answer. I worried that might be the mindset here.
I can totally see that. I think, and this is something you and I have always said about Warner, and you know what? Maybe this will change, go with this new merger and all that. But you can tell a self-contained story and still do a crossover at the same time. You just have to explain how they got to the place that they're in the crossover. It's not that hard. We don't. I think all that to say, I'm excited for this. I don't think it necessarily has to be a crossover. I don't think it necessarily has to exist in a certain space. I just would like to know where.
Now for the second most important news of the day. You'll obviously know what the most important news is when we get to it. But all hail the return of the greatest film character of all time. Riley Poole is coming back to the National Treasure universe, gosh dang it, and the National Treasure Disney Plus TV show. It's not National Treasure 3, but I'll take it, because Riley Poole is awesome, and this, at least, kind of turns the knob on the door, at least, that might let Nicolas Cage come back to show up in this National Treasure TV show. I think more people were just surprised than anything that they're like, whoa, so does this mean the National Treasure TV show exists in the same universe as the movies? I'm going, I thought Disney was open and honest from the get-go that they did, but also, y'all, are you just that excited for crossovers that the most simple crossover will excite you?
Yes. This
is not that big of a crossover. It's don't get me wrong. Riley is one of, if not my favorite movie character of all time, because he's just the guy that doesn't want to be there. It's who wants
Which
to go
is
inside?
me most of the time.
Nah, he's smart and knows about daylight savings time, which he can't make that reference anymore. Daylight savings isn't a thing anymore.
Well, in some states.
No, that's gone. Congress passed that thing, dude. So now that reference is dated and gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Daylight savings is gone now.
Okay, then why do my clocks still change? Why does my clock still change?
Because they passed it after the most recent change, obviously, because that's how Congress works. But I think people are just it's a huge, this is awesome. I'm going, this is the most base level crossover imaginable. which means, Sony could never do it in a million dreams because they
A
don't know how
million
to do
dreams.
crossovers successfully. It works either way. I know what I said. Um, I think this does open the door for Nicolas Cage to show up at some point. Maybe he's
Yeah.
like in the very last episode, or better yet, Nicolas Cage is the treasure that they are seeking.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a
bro,
second.
I can see the wheels turning, buddy. Let's go. What we got? What we got?
What if Diane Kruger, Riley, what if they're all on the quest for whatever was on page 57? And somewhere along the way, they get captured, and the only one that escapes is Riley, and basically starts the mission by telling these new people, we have this treasure that we got lost finding. I've heard that you're really good, because Disney, is really ham-fisted about, here, pass the torch off to the next generation. You get it? You get that these guys are the new people that you should be really caring about? So I can absolutely see Riley showing up and saying, hey, I need you to help find this treasure for my friend. Because yes, it might be a little Tomb Raider-ish, or even Uncharted-ish. That's a weird trope in adventure movies, and I'm just now realizing of treasure hunt, of having a relative or a friend be abducted and the treasure's finding them. But maybe that's how it ties in. This is a cool character. I like the National Treasure mythos a lot. The first National Treasure is honestly one of, if not the movie that I've seen the most ever, because I'd see it in school a lot. It's one of those that's super easy to watch. Nicolas Cage is a beautiful human being, and it always gets me super curious about, like, so if you do take some lemons to the back of the Declaration of Independence.
No, that's not how that works.
So if you kidnap John Voight.
Citric acid doesn't work that way, my dude.
So if you look at the back of Abraham Lincoln's head.
To me, this is like you said, like bare minimum, like why would he not? To me, this is like, it wouldn't make sense to do National Treasure without any connection to the movies at all, period. So Riley being the one to come back is perfect. I'm perfectly okay with. Maybe he's taken up the mantle that Cage left behind. I don't know. It'd be kind of, maybe, because he's just as smart as they are. So
he wrote a book.
Yeah, why not? I can see it. Sure, why not? But this is like the base level of announcements, and I'm just excited to see what else they bring. I think I'm more excited to see what treasure they're gonna go after.
Ferdinand Magellan's like Uncharted. Now
you have two separate series going after the same treasure.
Now, if we are theoretically bringing back non-Cage related national treasures,
yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I would kind of pop if we bring back Sean Bean's Ian character.
Okay.
Because we established he's got a lot of money, so maybe he was able to post bail. And in a surprise twist for Sean Bean, he didn't frickin' die. He's still alive. He didn't even get close to death. His buddy fell down the pit, but other than that, he's just like, I'm Sean Bean, and I'm still alive, and I approve this message. They clearly need to bring him back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, having him come back as the villain would almost make sense as well.
He's the one funding the expedition.
Yes, as a weird.
He wants to stick it to Gates.
No, they take a page out of Lost City's book, and he's the one funding the expedition, but he's also the villain. But he's not a terrible person. Oh no, why would I do that? Yeah, no, I can see a lot of fun there. Bring back Sean Bean. Tom Holland exists. I don't know. That would be fun.
Staying on the Disney Plus train, we're going to transition from finding treasure to mythology, as we have our lead actor now for the upcoming Percy Jackson series that will be making its way to Disney Plus. And I think Josh and I will have our own unique perspective on this, as the Adam Project's actor Walker Scobell, basically the young Ryan Reynolds character, has been cast as Percy Jackson for this show. I think I'm going to come at it from the perspective of having seen Adam Project, and I think Josh is going to come at it from the perspective of having seen Percy Jackson, which should make this very interesting because I don't think Josh has seen the Adam Project, and I haven't
No.
seen Percy Jackson. So,
No.
initial thoughts about the original Percy Jackson movies, the first two. Did you grow up reading the books or just seeing the movies, Josh?
Nah, I think I've only seen the first one. I didn't even realize the second one existed until like maybe a year ago. I did not read the books. It's actually on my list of things of like series I want to read because supposedly it's
It's
as good,
another
if not.
Sean Bean project.
It sure is. Uh,
He also
uh,
survives that, doesn't he?
yeah, he does because he's
Two for
he's a
two.
god. um, like I remember seeing the movie. It's apparent the books are apparently as good, not just as good, but better than the Harry Potter books. Which is now that I'm going into the Deathly Hollows, is not that high of a bar to get over.
Yeah,
I
you
said
you
what I
finished
said.
you finished Half Blood Prince. Now you got to come back to reality. Oh, there
Yeah.
goes Harry.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I've only seen the first film. So and oddly enough, the musical. Don't know why.
There's
Hold
a
on.
musical?
Yeah, it's pretty good actually. It
Percy
follows
Jackson Lightning sings twice.
No, it's part Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. It's cool. I mean, it kind of skips over. It's like I
And they
saw like
still
the youth
kept
version.
Ludacris for the music.
Honestly, I'd be there. I'd be there for it.
That'd be
You
weird.
can't tell me that would be cool.
Move, Zeus, get out the way.
The way, good. I don't. Is that Ludacris? I don't think that's Ludacris.
I'm gonna look it up because I'm white and I don't know this.
But yeah, no, I've only seen the film, and musical. So like but I do have a general idea
is.
for that. Yeah, look at you.
I know hip hop.
We'll make one hip hop reference, and that's all it took. I've seen the movie, but like, so I have the general idea of the story. I have a question, and I don't know if this is just because I realized today that I'm 20 days away from my 30th birthday.
That's what
I
your
don't know
knees
if this
give
is
out.
me getting old, but this kid seems younger
He's 13.
as Percy than what was his name?
Logan Lerman.
Logan Lerman was when he was cast. But either that or I'm just like my brain is not computing how young how old Logan is in comparison to me.
Yeah, the kid playing Percy Jackson is 13, which I think really helps it. Again, I don't
Yeah.
know the proper age of Percy Jackson, but I feel like Percy Jackson did kind of suffer from that thing of, oh, you're supposed to be a kid? You definitely look like an adult. Like the Harry Potter movies definitely suffered from that in the later... Oh, they suffered from that from 3 onward. They did not look their proper ages. Like, they look like full-grown adults by the 3rd or 4th movie, with
Yeah.
terrible hair in that 4th movie. But the kid, I think, having not read the source material to know what age he's supposed to be, I'm curious about this. A much younger looking kid. I loved him in the Adam Project. Like, Ryan Reynolds obviously will take most of the spotlight because he's Ryan Reynolds. There's a lot of times in the Adam Project this kid is taking the spotlight away from Ryan Reynolds and going toe-to-toe with Ryan Reynolds in terms of charm and charisma. This kid has an incredibly bright future. It's only a matter of time before he's in the MCU because that's just how it goes with kid actors these days. I really liked him in the Adam Project, Josh. I think that's one that you really need to get around to watching.
I know.
I think you'll really enjoy the Adam Project. Plus, it's a 13 going on 30 reunion, and I know you're a 13 going on 30 simp. So,
Yeah, yeah, totally. Oh, yeah.
Josh does a Thriller dance every night with Andy Serkis.
Every night, every single night. So, in the books, Percy is in the first and the Lightning Thief. He's 12 years old. So this is his age is pretty good. And I was right. Logan Lerman's Percy in the movie is 16 when they start the film, so he is older in the movie than so of course it's gonna feel like this kid is like a little younger because he is. Wow, facts are reality. That's crazy.
Facts are facts.
Yeah, so I'm excited because I haven't read necessarily the source material, so like I don't necessarily have accurate things to be excited about, but like I understand the concepts and the story beats, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do on a smaller screen as opposed to trying to fit everything into an hour and a half.
Yeah, flush it out with more time, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if ever there was a news topic that was catered just to me and me alone, that makes me go, screw you all, I'm having fun. It's this one right here. Y'all are going to laugh at this just going, are you kidding me? Hollywood is out of ideas, to which I'm just going, what's the Rick meme? You son of a gun, I'm in. Apparently, we are getting a Spirit Halloween movie. Yes, that sketchy store that pops up in every deserted Toys R Us near you every August through November 1st is getting a movie adaptation, and I cannot wait. Here's the thing, though, that I didn't realize until today. This movie's already done filming.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this thing has wrapped already. They must have announced this like as a, hey, guess what? We're done. Coming this October is the Spirit Halloween movie starring Back to the Future's Christopher Lloyd, and she's all that, and Psych star Rachel Lee Cook, which is kind of an odd combination, but I don't care because Spirit Halloween is on the name, so I'll be there with bells on. So supposedly, the premise of this is a whole bunch of teenagers decide, hey, I think it'd be fun to stay overnight in a Spirit Halloween, as we all naturally have those thoughts from time to time. But what they don't realize is the Spirit Halloween is haunted, and when the store closes, all the animatronics come to life. So it's night at the museum in a tiny 15 by 15 foot store.
That's actually kind of like,
right?
I mean, I don't want to use the word fascinating, but like
now you're on board.
No, yeah. Oh no, Rachel Lee Cook is the store manager, and Christopher Lloyd is the warehouse manager in the back. I don't want to be on board with this, but I'm so on board. Absolutely.
And here's the other reason why I'm so on board with this. What have I been preaching for years? Why doesn't Spirit Halloween sell horror movies? Now, since the movie is literally about Spirit Halloween, guess what they're going to sell at Spirit Halloween stores? A Spirit Halloween movie. We've opened the door. We're finally close to it. I don't care that this is the dumbest idea we've ever talked about. Oh, not the dumbest idea. Remember that Magic 8 Ball movie that's supposedly in development at Blumhouse?
Ooh.
The only hitch that some people, not me, I don't have an issue with this. Some people are freaking out because in the press release they're like, it'll be a family-friendly film. And some people are going, ugh. I'm going, you could still have fun. Monster House is quote-unquote family friendly. Goosebumps is quote-unquote family friendly. You could still have fun with that. And also, if you want kids to get into horror movies, they need a gateway drug. And maybe this could be a kid's gateway drug someday. I said what I said.
It's the modern day Halloween Town for this generation.
You joke. You joke.
But like, we don't have those kinds of movies these days. Like, they don't make scary movies for kids because of that kind of caveat with it. Of like, oh man, a horror movie that's only PG. No, bro. Like, I'm imagining like a PG version of Willy's Wonderland with Michael Cage.
Who?
Michael Cage? Nicolas Cage. Oh my
Michael
gosh.
Cage.
Who is Michael Cage? I have no idea. Dude, my brain's already running.
Michael Cage sounds like a George Clooney character in like some drama that nobody saw, like Michael Clayton. I move over Halloween ends. This is the most anticipated movie of October. This is the one we're all going to be clamoring for. The Spirit Halloween movie. Is it going to suck? There's like a 75% chance it's going to suck. So what? This sounds amazing, and it sounds like it was made specifically for me and no one else. That's why it's a perfect movie idea, because I don't care for the concerns of other people when it comes to movies. I'm that guy that as soon as July starts coming around, I'm going, so, what buildings are closed near us that could be? Then you start mapping things out, and come August, you're just going, all right, it's August 15th, and still no spirits are open. What gives? And everyone else is going, it's August. I'm going, yeah, it's August.
Oh yes. I think, but like, see, I think people have underestimated Spirit Halloween's like there's cultural staple, because like there's really not, outside of like your main like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, I don't know,
Yes,
like
I
who,
get my Halloween costume at
I mean,
Home
but hey,
Depot.
wasn't it Home Depot last year that had that like 50-foot skeleton? I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look it up. But like, yeah, like Home Depot sold like a 50-foot skeleton, or like 15. I'm not, 50 is kind of tall, but like,
Yeah, 50-foot
but like
skeleton.
a 20, but okay, 20-foot skeleton for Halloween or something. But like, it's
Makes me
still
not
like,
want to go fishing with Josh. You're like, I caught a 30-foot fish. How big? It was like an 8-foot fish. Really? It was like a 27-foot fish.
It was like the size of my arm, but like 4 times.
But if my arm was bent a little bit like this,
and I was like hunched over like this,
and it was exactly like a Wednesday, so
it was cloudy. I couldn't see.
Cloudy with a chance of fish.
Meatballs is better. But yeah, so but like it is the only like consistent store that we can go to for Halloween stuff that's not like a, I'm going to use the word, big corporate institution, because even though at this point I think Spirit Halloween is big enough for that, like they are a corporate institution.
They're so big that they only have to be open 2 months of the year,
which is nuts.
Yeah. Also, like, I got fooled on April Fool's Day because they posted something about Spirit Halloween. Now select locations open year round. I'm going, it's the one day that everyone fact checks what they read on the internet.
The only day.
But
the
again,
only day.
Again, because this is a Spirit Halloween movie, that means they should be able to sell that movie in stores. So I'll be vindicated on the one thing that I've said for years of why don't you sell movies in Spirit Halloween? It just makes so much sense. Then after that, soon enough we'll have merchandise in movie theaters. It'll happen someday. Mark my words.
Yeah, okay. No, we're too busy upping ticket prices.
Yeah, AMC. Well, as per usual, this episode is sponsored by TeePublic, your one-stop shop for all your Uncharted Media merch, whether it's shirts, sweatshirts, notepads, stickers, whatever your heart desires with Uncharted Media designs on them. Get it there and support the show. Now, here's where we once again prove where Josh is wrong in some stuff. Because
okay. So we're leading with that. All right.
Well, I'm just operating under the assumption, like we did in the very first episode, that I'm very firmly in the camp of video game adaptations can work, and Scrooge McDuck is gonna say video game adaptations can't work and they should only be video games.
Okay. We will get to the like, this is where I stand part. Let's go ahead and let's talk about, because we both saved our actual opinions. I would of Sonic the Hedgehog. Should we try to keep it as spoiler free as possible?
Yes, I would say so. So we won't talk about Mario showing up and challenging him for the next Olympics, and then Link spamming them off the map, and then at the end, Dr. Mario comes along and says, "I'm here to talk to you about the Smash Initiative."
I hate you. I hate First of all, if they ever were calling it something, Smash Initiative is not that. No, sir. That's something else. That's anyway.
Super Smash Initiative.
So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 knows exactly what it is. And knows exactly what its source material is. I will say that I loved it. There are certain things and certain scenes that I think are there for no real reason. All right, I'm gonna say this real quick. There's a couple scenes that make relationships to certain characters questionable. Some of the ways that Tails talks to Sonic are interesting, to say the least. And then the little comment that I can never remember her name, the wife character makes
Oh
at
yeah.
the end. You know what comment I'm talking about. Where she was like, I really like the red one. I was like, what? The way that she phrases it
Oh,
is
I
like,
don't know what
girl,
you're
that
talking
is a
about.
girl, that is a big red echidna. Chill out.
Okay, but can we talk about how great and how perfect Idris Elba is?
Oh, dude, so good. Idris Elba's fantastic. Tails' voice is actually like I can listen to it,
It's the same person, that's why.
which is crazy to me. Because like there's been so many times where they do Tails' voice and it's so annoying.
Like Slippy and Star Fox.
God, worse.
Slippy, I
There.
just let die. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Screw you. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I will say.
Josh would watch a Star Fox movie, as we know.
Uh, all right, going to week 3 on review. Week 3. Josh is a secret furry.
No,
Got
this
it.
is like week 4 or 5 now.
I know. Oh no.
Josh's journey of discovery.
That being said, I think Jim. I like where they put Jim Carrey's Eggman at the end of the film. If he wants to come back, he can, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Basically. What did you think of it?
I'm like you I love that it knows exactly what it is. I think something we can easily talk about with video game adaptations is a lot of times they try to be something that they're not.
That's fair.
Which is like some video games, their original concept is not high art, so you shouldn't be striving to make high art movies. This movie is perfect for exactly what it is. I won't spoil it for the people at home, but my theater was so loud at the post-credit scene. Like Marvel levels of loud for the post-credit scene. I will say I contributed to it, obviously, but I love the direction that they're going because they're not ashamed to embrace the source material. They know exactly what they are.
As made obvious by the climax of the film. Like, dude.
There's nothing wrong with the climax whatsoever. That is a perfect climax.
It's perfect. Like I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh no,
like,
you're good.
Holy crap. It was one of those like I wanted it to go that direction, but I never thought that would ever be something that we would ever see that a studio would take seriously, and we got what we got.
Yeah, Sonic used a chili cheese dog to defeat Eggman.
That is one of my favorite lines, though, from Knuckles. Like, he's not the Sonic that you once knew.
Oh, nope, he is.
Oh,
like,
yeah, he totally
I
is.
love that Knuckles is essentially just Dave Bautista's Drax, basically. Like, everything goes over his head. Nothing would go over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. Like, it knows exactly what it is. Also, the hardest I laughed. We won't say what it is to spoil it because it is a really good joke. But the very, very obvious Parks and Rec joke that I'm going, you made that reference in this specific movie. If you know the cast of the movie, you can catch on pretty quick of what I mean by that. But this movie gets to the heart of it. Of this movie knows what its source material is and what it needs to be to please its audience. I love that the critics don't really love it, but the audience, it's like a 97% audience rating of the people that wanted to see this movie and weren't forced to. I'm not saying critics were forced to see this, but they might have been forced to see it. People that grew up playing Sonic games walking away super happy because the character dynamics are perfect with Sonic and Tails and even Knuckles to the extent of it. I love that while I liked James Marsden and Sonic's interaction in the first one, it felt like a buddy cop, like basically James Marsden's oddly specific typecast of I am a good person teamed with a furry CGI creature hop. But this movie should not have been called Sonic 2. It should have been called Sonic Adventures because it's truly a Sonic and Tails movie. There's not a lot of human stuff. That being said, when there is human stuff, the sister-in-law, that's all I have to say. The sister-in-law's wedding. Oh my God.
I think my favorite part is, first of all, like there's a lot of great stuff in there. But them trying to pretend like to James Morrison,
Yeah.
yeah, is not as jacked as her husband
Mhm.
is hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm not as man as them. I'm like, dude, I see
Like,
your
and when they
veins.
both flex and it's obviously just as like he's just as jacked.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, we just we not we're not acknowledging that. No, okay, cool.
But yeah,
It's I think the scene in Siberia, one of my favorites of the
oh,
movie.
great, the Winter
Fantastic.
Soldier.
God, so good. But like before that, in the bar scene, fantastic. Love that. I don't
That was
know
so
why.
unexpected.
It's so great. So great.
I think also the movie does a good job of making the movie feel like levels of you've got your
Yeah.
underwater level, you've got your jungle level, you've got your beach level, while still feeling like a movie. So I think this movie should be the template going forward of don't be afraid of your source material, just know exactly what you are. So I think that leads us perfectly into our discussion here. So I wanted to start us off by looking back at the difference between then and now. Our first episode was September 2018. So I went back and did this thing called research, where I
What?
looked at all the video game adaptations that we've gotten since
Mm-hmm.
2018. And holy crap, we've had Detective Pikachu, both Sonic, Monster Hunter, Mortal Kombat, Werewolves Within, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. I can't say welcome, apparently. Uncharted, The Witcher, and Halo. Now, not all of those are winners, but looking at that list, I see more good than I see bad. And compared to the previous history of video game adaptations, I think the chart skews positively more so than it skews negatively. Because, like, the first episode, I'm going back and listening to all of our old episodes for something. Henry Cavill got cast as The Witcher, like, in our second or third episode.
Oh wow.
So when we had this first discussion, The Witcher wasn't even a thing yet. And Josh has gone on record. I'm going to trap him in his own words. Josh loves The Witcher show on Netflix.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But it's also a TV show.
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing, man. I agree, and I know it's obvious what stance we're both kind of taking here. I'm definitely more tentative when it comes to this because I think there's this very, very specific caveat on all of these films, including the ones that did well, and especially the ones that did awful. Let's use Monster Hunter as a case study, okay? You have a large catalog of games to pull from. You literally have no specific storyline that you have to follow, except that, hey, there's a big monster, we have to hunt it. Cool, easy to do. The movie tries so desperately to be taken seriously in comparison to Sonic, like the first one, Sonic the Hedgehog. It does no effort whatsoever for you to take it seriously. It's like, look, bro, this is the movie we made. We had fun with it. And if you have fun with it, all right, cool. I think what's interesting to me and the difference there for Sonic, there's several TV shows, including the game, to back up all of the source material. So technically, this is a character that we as a culture have spent time with outside of the gaming world. And so there is like, I got from this movie very specific vibes from like Sonic X or Sonic Underground. So I think, I don't know how to say this. I'm happy that Sonic did what it did, but I think to ignore the fact that it has a lot of stuff coming before it, content-wise, is unfair to the discussion that we were having. I don't think, I think because in our first episode I said I don't think they can work truly, and to be fair, I think Warcraft had just come out like very close to that time. I mean, yeah, it had come out 2 years prior. So to me, thinking of video games, I'm not just thinking at that specifically at that time, like, all right,
Well,
cool. So Nintendo can't work, but like obviously Nintendo can work,
I
or
think
Sega
also
can work.
with Warcraft, though, I think it all kind of depends on the density of the source material.
Also true.
As much as I love Uncharted or Sonic, it's not as deep of a lore that's required to be in the movies. Like, yeah, there's definitely some lore to Uncharted and some lore to Sonic, but you don't always need 100% of that. You need a lot of lore and world building for Warcraft to just put in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very rich and heavy world. Not saying that like Sonic or The Last of Us, or even Monster Hunter doesn't have that lore, but those are more like straightforward in their linear narrative that you don't always need the ancillary knowledge that comes in the background. But like a Warcraft, I was so lost because I had never played any of the games and I felt like the
Yeah.
games were knowledge. So that kind of brings me to one of the points that I wanted to talk about. When it comes to video game adaptations, whether it's movies or TV, should the creators take the approach of for the fans or for the general public? Because I bring that up with a video game adaptation that's going on as we speak that seems to be very divided between the general population really, really enjoying it and diehard Halo fans hating it. Obviously, I'm talking about the Halo show that was, in development hell forever. But supposedly, I've not seen any of it yet. Just add it to the list of things to watch. Supposedly, the general population who doesn't have as much of a knowledge of the Halo story, they are really digging it, whereas Halo fans are going, why is Master Chief without his helmet? Why this? Why that? Why aren't they using the correct sound effects? I'm just like, it's hard because I'm not in that bubble. I'll put it myself in that situation with the Uncharted movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, obviously, I liked it as a movie enough, but there are still certain key factors that I think they dropped the ball with. I think Sully absolutely sucked. I think the movie does a complete disservice to how fantastic the music in this movie is terrible. But of all the people that I know that have seen this movie, and I saw it with casual people that have never played the games, that factor did not bother them. They were just like, yeah, it didn't really bother me. I thought the music was fine. I'm like, no, the music was bad and it should be ashamed of itself. It's not Pacific Rim. Or they're like, yeah, I like Mark Wahlberg's character. I'm like, he's just Mark Wahlberg. But to them, they enjoyed that. And the audience reaction to Uncharted was like Sonic, of significantly higher than the critics' reaction. I think Uncharted was like 90%. So where's the line there between for fans of the material and for the general public?
So I think the case study that we were kind of building here, I think we have to now bring in an actual discussion about The Witcher, because the first season of The Witcher is by and large a very standard fantasy tale. Very standard, doesn't dive really too deep into the lore of the world that is The Witcher, kind of gives you your basic rules, but doesn't really start to really bring out like the nitty-gritty stuff. Now, compare that to the reception of this second season. Second season is not for everybody because it is very lore heavy. It's still action, absolutely, but it's diving deeper into the lore of The Witcher. So to me, what's interesting is The Witcher took the approach of kind of what you're talking about, is that first season is definitely for a more quote unquote broader audience, broader fantasy audience. Whereas the second season is more of, okay, cool, we got you now. You're invested. Now we're going to go down into the weird stuff. And so to me, I think, and I'd have to go back and listen to that first episode, but I still think a TV show is going to be a better format for specific games. I think if Uncharted might be like a 6-episode event.
Oh, so exactly what Heather pitched years and years ago, that it should be a TV show.
Yeah, I think it would go better. I think in more and more we look at it now, a very specific games are going to translate better to the big screen. That's why I said, like, can they work? Yeah, but like it has to be some very specific things that are tailored to very specific profit properties.
So I'm glad you brought up something that actually is in my notes for a point that I really wanted to talk about, that the world has significantly changed even from September 2018 when we first did this topic, was
Yes.
the rise of streaming. When we first talked in 2018, there was no Disney Plus, there was no Paramount Plus, there's no HBO Max, there's no Discovery Plus. There was basically like Netflix and Hulu were the two dominating forces in the streaming business. Some of the stuff that we've talked about today, whether it's Halo or The Witcher, I think excels because they're on streaming services. And we're seeing more and more places like branch out and see the value of the IP that is video games. So like we've got, for upcoming projects, we have The Last of Us as a show on HBO. We've got the Borderlands movie. We've got Paramount milking Sonic for all it's worth and getting multiple Sonic spinoffs. We've got a Twisted Metal, I think it's either a movie or a TV show. All of those are on the horizon. So I think places are realizing the value of the IP that is video games, but also putting them up as streaming options, which brings up my question of streaming versus theatrical. And again, it could come back to it depends on the property. I still firmly believe that while it had its missteps, Uncharted as a franchise is destined to be a big screen thing. Like there are some properties that are more fit for TV. Not saying they're lesser, but I think like The Last of Us will be perfect for TV. But like Halo, I would have put that as a movie because it's so grand in scope. Uncharted should always be theatrical, at least for me, because a big part of the Uncharted, the fun of it, so to speak, is the massive set pieces of
That's fair.
Nathan Drake being arguably the worst archaeologist of all time. Like nothing he touches is left standing, including relationships. So like we need to see that large scale.
So let's bring up a previously before Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's talk about my personal favorite video game movie of all time, Prince of Persia and the Sands of Time.
Yeah, buddy!
Let's go.
The beautiful Gyllenhaal, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, the greatest Disney princess of all time. Gemma Arterton is fantastic. No shame.
Absolutely. So what's interesting is it's kind of the same kind of scenario as Halo. I have no connection to the games whatsoever, so I enjoyed the crap out of the movie. I recently brought it up to somebody who has like grew up playing the Prince of Persia games, and he absolutely hates the movie and said it was absolutely awful. I was like, you can't enjoy it on any level. Like, it's a pretty fun movie. He's like, no, I can't. It's stupid. It gets this wrong, gets this wrong, gets this wrong. So first of all, I think we'll bring up that the discussion we've had before is that sometimes nerds are the worst fans of all time.
Star Wars,
looking at you.
WWE.
Sometimes Marvel fans, Snyder fans.
Oh, Snyder fans are the worst.
The
worst.
But I will say this, and this kind of does give some juice to your argument. At the same time, Prince of Persia, I could never see as a TV show. It's too grand in scale. It'd be like trying to do Mad Max, but on a small screen. Mad Max, Fury Road, I mean, no, it's not a comic, but like just in comparison to that big scale, would not work. I mean, it looks great on a TV, but gosh, dang, when you're in a theater, it feels so good. So I would agree. It's definitely, they can work, but there's a large elephant in the room. There's a large caveat on, okay, let's look at the source material. Where does it belong? Now, I do think that I agree that the likelihood that a property will get the proper avenue of viewing is higher now, excuse me, than it ever has been. Like Halo going to Paramount, to me personally, I'm a big fan of Forward Until Dawn. It was a small little web series they did leading up to one of the Halo games. Fantastic.
Live action Red versus Blue. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
That was everyone's childhood for a while there.
Rooster Teeth would never sell the rights to that ever. But to me, Halo absolutely belongs on the small screen. I understand that of the scale can be a lot bigger, but the thing that makes Halo tick is the character moments. And not to say you can't do character moments on the big screen, but they need to be prolonged. So it's and that's what I think. I still need to watch the show, but I think you and I talked about this when the trailer for Halo came out. To me, it looked like they were going more of their own direction that was closer to the Halo books, which are something that I grew up reading and loved. Because, I mean, as much as the fact that he's taking his helmet off should not be a surprise. Like, I don't understand why nerds will sit here and go, well, look, I spent 25 hours with this character and he never takes his helmet off. I don't see how that wouldn't work for television. It doesn't work for television. Why do you think they take Spider-Man's mask off every single time they need him to actually emote seriously?
Good call.
You have to have that off, unfortunately. I understand where you're coming from, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
And this is coming on didn't they announce, who was it? Amazon announced they were going to have a God of War movie coming out?
Series,
or show
TV
coming out?
Show.
Yeah.
TV show.
So.
And Michael Cera will be playing Kratos.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Oh my gosh. Have you seen the trailer of the Kung Fu Panda knockoff that he's starring in?
Yeah, what the heck? I saw that during Sonic. What the heck is that movie?
I'm
like,
so
did Samuel L.
confused.
Jackson just need an extension on his house or something? Because that movie looks terrible. Same with Bad Guys. Bad Guys looks awful.
So bad. But yeah.
But yes, I think a movie should not be based on it. Should not be judged on its source material, whether or not it matters more. Does it deliver as good stories? Because I think people, like Main Street people, are finally catching on to the fact what gamers have known forever. Games tell better stories than movies tell of video games, basically, if that makes sense. Like, video games nowadays tell incredible stories. Uncharted 4 to me is one of the best told adventure stories ever, and it's one of the most human stories. Yes, it's grand in scope, but it's a very personal story about maturity and growing up, and what are you willing to leave behind as an adult to move on to something that actually makes you happy. But like, case in point, the Uncharted movie, if I take my Uncharted diehard gripes away, does it still work as a movie? For the most part, I'd say yes, but some of my issues would still be there. I don't think the Nathan Drake and Sully dynamic is particularly strong. Not even so much of just like, well, that's not how it is in the games. I just think it's weird that the movie was advertised as, see the origin of the friendship of Nathan and Sully, and then the movie spent so much time with them apart from each other. And
got some Star Wars prequel syndrome going there, buddy.
Also, Sully just kind of like floats in and out, and also like logistically shows up in places that actually defy rules of like, no, you shouldn't actually be here right now. Like, mathematically, it's not possible. It's like looking at that scene in not Empire Strikes Back, different movie, Emperor's New Groove, when they pull down the map and they're just like, how'd you get here? I don't know. Like we came down the map and came up top. But like, there's structural issues with the Uncharted movie as a movie, not specifically just as an Uncharted adaptation, but at the end of the day, it still works as a movie. Sonic works as a movie because it has a story. Yes, it's got Easter eggs out the wazoo off the source material, but it still knows to make a good story. And I think the problem is when you look at previous adaptations, like Five Good Things is Doom. Any Doom movie fails to be a good story first and then a good Doom story. The story should always come first. Now, I think something that's really important to talk about.
Hold on.
Don't you defend Doom Annihilation?
No. But like, Doom is only, really only like, is similar to the games in that it happens on Mars and it's called Doom. Like, everything else about that movie is not at all up to the games.
I think also something that has happened between September 2018 and now that I think is a really big turning point for the world of video game adaptations. Has nothing to do with video game adaptations whatsoever, but video game representation in movies, because
Mm,
I came put a little subset in the notes, movies about video games, which have kind of secretly been dominating lately. You have the both of the new Jumanji movies, Ready Player
yeah.
One, and most recently Free Guy. All of these movies excel at being amazing video game movies while not actually being based off of a video game. If we want to cast it back even further, we could talk about Wreck-It Ralph, because Wreck-It Ralph is amazing. If those movies about video games could work, why can't video game movies work? There shouldn't really be a difference. Jumanji is honestly the best video game movie not based off an actual video game, because they openly say, all right, we have 3 lives each. We're going through different levels. All of us have special power ups and abilities that each of us can do. It is blatantly a video game movie, yet both of the new movies are universally beloved for being fresh and fun. So, why does that work? But others don't. I think it's because there's this inherent laziness at times that we're only just starting to get out of, studios going, well, it's a recognizable IP. Just slap whatever on it. People won't go out and buy it. I think we're getting to a point now that we are with like Star Wars, of people that grew up with the material are now in a position to make the material themselves. And since they have a passion for it, they can put in more of the time and work into it. Like, it's why Mandalorian is so good, is you're getting so many people that grew up with Star Wars now making their own Star Wars content. I'd imagine the people that made the Sonic movies freaking love Sonic growing up, because there's so much deep, deep Sonic cut references in both movies, but especially in the second one, that I think we're starting to see that trend, and I think that bodes well for video game adaptations going forward.
Absolutely. I think, how do I say that? I think you and I are closer in our opinions than I think we're willing to admit here. I'm definitely
Oh
not.
no, I think they can work. They've just been
Yeah,
bad.
I think I'm definitely more hesitant because of the schlock that we had to deal with in the 90s and early 2000s. I think if anything that Marvel has done, it has shown that you can take something that is considered by old people to be juvenile and not worth telling, and turn it into something incredible and turn it into something that makes money, because at the end of the day, these movies got to make their money back, unfortunately. uh, and that's one of the reasons I think Sonic is getting multiple installments, is because it's
It was
banking, my dude.
it was made cheap. That's the thing.
Yes.
If so many video game adaptations are just like, here's $200 million, you better make that back, and the filmmakers are just going, oh no, which leads them to play it overly safe, when in reality, like, you should have done something like a Sonic, of a mid-level budget and then mid-level success. Like, it's got good
Yeah,
success for what it's doing. Also,
absolutely.
with Sonic, it's another point that I wanted to bring up, of adaptations of games versus original stories with the game characters, because the filmmakers for both Sonic games are like, yes, we're following some of the events in chronological order from the video games, but we're not going to be going in order of the Sonic games. Like, the next one is not going to be based off of Sonic 3, the video game, or as much as, without delving too much into spoilers, as much as the end of the Uncharted movie looks like it's clearly setting up the events of the very first Uncharted game, I would not expect that to be the sequel, to just be a direct adaptation of Drake's Fortune. I'm not expecting the Last of Us TV show to be a direct adaptation, like hour for hour, of Joel and Ellie's trek across the country. Like, I'm expecting there to be some tweaks, and I feel like a reason why fans in particular have not been on board video game adaptations is they are expecting a one-to-one copy of what they've spent hundreds of hours playing, which
Yeah.
that doesn't always that's not always feasible. Like, I've always wanted an Uncharted adaptation, but I've never wanted a one-to-one copy of Drake's Fortune. As much as I love Uncharted 4, I don't want a one-to-one copy. I want new stories with these characters, and I think so many times people get so protective about the characters that they rightly have played, like I said, hundreds of hours with, that when something comes along, they're just like, I already have these preconceived notions of what it's going to be. Like, I remember people were so pissed when Uncharted became a prequel, and they're just like, but Nathan Drake that I know and love as an adult, I'm going, I get that, but they want to franchise this. And also, there's more stories to tell with Nathan Drake when he's younger than when he's older. That way you're not handcuffed to the pre-existing lore, so to speak. You can change things up. You can make it fresh while still kind of keeping the essence of what makes the character special. And I think we will slowly get to that point. Like, change is hard in general, but I feel like we're in the middle of a slow change when it comes to video game adaptations, of looking at all those movies that I said from 2018 to now. Sure, some of them are bad, but we are not in the dark ages of like that original Super Mario Brothers, or even more recently like the god awful Assassin's Creed movie. Like, I think those days of truly awful are behind us, and I think streaming's a big part of that.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree with that. I think Assassin's Creed's one of those that that's definitely one of those games that has so much potential to have really cool set pieces, great action scenes, and really, really interesting characters. But they tried to tell 5 games of story, which is going to be like hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay in an hour and an hour and a half. It's kind of when The Last Airbender tried to tell a whole season of storytelling in 1 hour and a half. You can't do it. So
Or
I
the original Series of Unfortunate Events movie tried to
yes,
cram 3 books into one movie.
Grant, I do have a nostalgic
A
love
lot of people
for
do,
that.
and I don't
Yeah,
understand it.
I see. I've never read the books, so I don't have any. So that's like that was my first interaction with the story. So anyway, but yeah, like to your point of starting people, yeah, it's people don't understand that when okay, I don't want to make that kind of generalization. That's mean. But often fans of certain games don't realize that when a company is making a movie based off of a game, it's based off of the IP, not of a specific game. So, like, if when they do a God of War movie show, I don't know where they're going to start because you have from the first God of War to now, which are 2 completely different stories. So it's
If I am
I don't know what
making
to expect.
if I'm making the God of War show, the first episode ends with the death of his family. I think
Yeah.
that would
Oh,
be
absolutely.
I think that's how you kick it off, of just like, look at how great I am. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no no
Yes.
no no no.
I definitely think you have to like, especially in God of War, like if you're going to tell your own story, you absolutely like that is the problem with adaptations though, is which parts do you pick and choose? Let's use God of War as the case study here, because do you go hardcore and like include everything that happens in the first 3 games, including the little side orgies? Do you do that? What all do you include? Do you legitimate? It'd be crazy. And so you have your first 2 seasons is him just murdering his way through the Greek pantheon, like that, because that's basically you've got to spend that much time. So, but by the end of season 2, he actually has that final confrontation with Zeus. But like, is that the direction you go? Do you go ahead? That's one of the things I personally found so brilliant story wise about. Like, I understand gameplay for the God of War game is not for everybody. I understand that. Story wise, however, taking this character, and for a lot of people, this was their first God of War game. They have no idea about the history of this guy, of Kratos, going into this story, and so they do a really good job of giving you just enough to understand about Kratos. And so I think a show works great for that game. If you were to do a God of War movie, I don't know where you start. You know what I mean? Like, that's we're talking. Where do you start? in your first game? Do you start? You know what I mean? So I think the point we're kind of saying over and over again is, yeah, they can work.
Is Josh has changed his
Kinda.
mind over time.
I mean, yeah, I'm still
All
very
because of the
apprehensive.
Sonic movies.
I mean, kind of, yes, but
Sonic
also
has
because,
really shown that there is,
oh yeah,
if you do it right, or
absolutely.
as much as I don't want to give it credit, too much credit, I don't hate the movie, but I think Uncharted really kind of opened some people's eyes, because that is quietly doing incredibly well. I always told Heather, and she agreed with me, of, yeah, Uncharted's doing well for right now at the box office, like surprisingly well. But there's this big black bat standing right over its shoulder. Batman is going to run through this thing like a buzzsaw. And it didn't. Yeah, the Batman had a great opening weekend, and it still continues to track well. Also, quick side tangent, you can see the Batman on HBO Max starting next week. It's
Let's
super
go.
bizarre. But even after the Batman came out, Uncharted is still making a couple $1 million each weekend. Like, it is, I think it's up to 150 million domestically now, and like 350 worldwide. Like, it's way overperformed even what I thought it would do. But it gets the essence of Uncharted right, of swashbuckling adventure. So I think we're slowly turning the big rig in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But what more changes would you like to see for video game adaptations, Josh? We're getting a Tetris movie, so that solves everything.
Okay, cool, yeah. I think the thing I want to get away from is, just because a game has a large fan base doesn't mean it deserves a movie. Like in the case of, are they actually doing a Tetris movie?
Actually, yes, but it's not about the game. It's about the guy that created Tetris.
Okay, see, super interesting. Love
Starring
that.
Taron Egerton.
I don't hate that, actually. I kind of like that a
I know
lot.
you don't.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that. It feels like a bioflick. I'm
A bioflick.
I'm super down with that.
A bioflick.
So anyway,
a bioflick?
I know we're gonna walk away from that.
I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of interchangeable. Bioflick and biopic is interchangeable. Why don't more people call it bioflicks?
Because
maybe because it sounds like a disease, but
sounds like something.
I have a bioflick
shirt.
Yeah. I got a scab that I picked off my shirt.
It's a bioflick.
I have a scab that I picked off my elbow and it landed on your shirt. Can I have it back?
Oh, anyway, jeez.
Shout out Jimmy Neutron.
The thing that I am worried about that will happen is, once like these shows and movies that are based on games do well, studios will come out and be like, all right, cool, so we're going to start making games out of everything, and all of a sudden we have a Battletoads movie, and we have a House of the Dead.
We have a House of the Dead movie.
No, we have a House of the Dead fan film.
House of the Dead.
That movie is so bad.
With Lois Lane from Smallville.
It's so bad. It is so bad.
But tell me, you would not watch a Battletoads movie?
I would be there with my bells on, okay?
Because, oh my gosh, imagine if it's like the Wachowski Speed Racer, but with Battletoads.
Which, hold on, I don't know if I've ever like on the pod like spoken my love of Speed Racer, the Wachowski Speed Racer. It is not the cartoon, but it is also the cartoon. It's so interesting. And
where's my Frogger movie? Dang it!
No.
Yes.
But that's my point, though. Is I don't think every game deserves a movie, and so I think my hope is, going forward, one of the things I'm going to require of studios, because I'm so
Josh
cool.
has power.
Yeah, they respect my opinion, obviously.
Respect my authority.
Yeah, they not see the success of Sonic the Hedgehog or of Uncharted and go, all right, cool, grab whatever property you want, and then we'll just do whatever we want with it. There's a lot of really good games out there, and you can't just do everything. And because I think then you can start getting into Warcraft's scenario where you have to explain 200 hours worth of content and before you can even get to your story.
Well, also, we're getting into a new era of another thing that I completely forgot to put in the notes, but I'm remembering now is back in September 2018, we did not have a movie studio specifically dedicated to video game adaptations. At
That's
the
fair.
beginning of Uncharted, you see for the very first time the new intro for PlayStation Productions. All the PlayStation projects, whether it's the Uncharted movie, the Last of Us show, the Ghost of Tsushima, I think it's either movie or show that just got its writer today. Um, and that trailer, that like opening, like Marvel style opening, I think kind of gives some hints as to the future project that they've got lined up, because it showed like some Uncharted stuff, some Ghost of Tsushima, some Last of Us. I think it showed Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, to which there's a lot of projects, and this we can kind of wrap it up with this of there's a lot of things that I would like to see get adapted. And
Mm-hmm.
while I have not finished the games, I think Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn could make fantastic adaptations. Same
Yeah,
with a good Assassin's Creed, or the one that, while they haven't officially announced it yet, I guarantee you will be announced by the end of the year this year. Destiny. I think
I can see that.
Sony is
Yeah,
sitting back watching to see if Halo does well, but also Sony did just buy Bungie not too long ago, and everyone was just like, no, it wasn't Bungie. They bought Destiny without Bungie, right? Or
I
did they
think
buy
so.
Bungie?
Because I don't remember.
I know
There's a lot. There was a
they own
buying.
Destiny, and people are just like, but Microsoft owns this other thing that kind of limits you. And astute people, the big brain people, are going, they're doing it for the movie rights. Destiny can be milked for a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Yes, obviously the
absolutely.
shine of Destiny has faded a little bit, but I still remember in college when Destiny first came out, that thing was massive for 2 weeks and then died. But that thing was massive, and I think I played enough Destiny to go, okay, there is an interesting amount of lore here that you can set a whole TV show, movie, frankly, a whole universe in this. You don't have to set
Hmm.
it in one specific time period or with one specific character. It could, I'm not saying to the scale of Star Wars, but something akin to a Star Wars or a Star Trek, in that you've got your main stories, but you could have interlocking stories that could be spun off into their own adventures. Destiny, that's a huge
Yeah.
enough world in and of itself. Um,
So something that I personally would love to see when it comes to adaptations, though, is a little bit more of a dabble into actual horror gaming.
oh,
Some of
Until
those
Dawn, the movie.
would be fantastic. Even something like Dead Space, which is basically Alien, would be awesome. Do Bioshock. Bioshock would be
Bioshock's
amazing.
been in development hell even longer than Uncharted, I feel
It
like.
has, but that's a show that could be really really awesome. Or movie, whatever. But there's a lot of really really good potential. The Amnesia games would be fantastic as like one or
As
two
a
movies.
Shudder exclusive.
Exact like there's some really really good content out
Blumhouse's
there.
Amnesia.
Oh, bro, say less. I am there. I think the phrase of this episode is "be there with bells on" because we've both said it
Because
multiple
we're
times.
old, apparently. Because Josh is
Apparently,
almost 30, so he says old people phrases now.
but yeah, like there's a lot of really really good I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of games we're not bringing up. Like a Metal Gear Solid would be
That's been in development forever
it
with
has.
Jordan Vogt Roberts from Godzilla, from Kong Skull Island. Dude, what
Yeah,
if like a James Wan Outlast.
yeah.
Not
Like
Outcast.
just
That's
like
that's scary enough as is.
yes, but like there's a lot of like really good horror games out there that would be very could you imagine if we got like a legitimate Slenderman movie? Like, bro, like that is like the lore that it's expanded to is very interesting. But there's a lot of content out there, and I hope that the search for video game movies doesn't stop at like adventure movies and sci-fi and stuff like that. Like, bro, getting a legitimate Doom movie would be amazing. That's not absolute garbage, like that one that went like straight to Netflix or whatever.
Mm.
Um, like a legitimate Doom movie, like with the actual lore, would be super interesting. At least I think. But then again, I'm a fan of it, so who knows, man? I don't.
Also, The problem is with some of the video game adaptations, it has to be something that is a currently ongoing franchise. Like Uncharted was in development hell, but that doesn't. Uncharted's a little different, but like Mortal Kombat still has games coming out. Sonic, I think, did well because it has the nostalgia factor. Everyone knows who Sonic is because gotta go fast. Everyone just knows who Sonic is. Everyone knows who Mario is. I hope for more retro stuff. A Crash Bandicoot movie, a Sly Cooper movie, a Spyro movie. Oh my gosh. Diddy and Donkey's Great Adventure or something like that could be super cool. And just have like half the movie be the minecart chase or something like that. The Rise of Bowser.
There's a lot out there for retro games. Absolutely. I mean,
Yoshi's Revenge. It's John Wick with Yoshi.
Oh, jeez.
Yoshi!
But like the success of the Castlevania anime has been huge.
Good call with Castlevania. One of our listeners did suggest talking about Castlevania.
Absolutely.
I know that is a thing.
I haven't watched everything on it. I've seen scenes from it though, and holy crap, it's sitting in my watch list. So like
so it's 1,000 other things.
There's so much we need to watch, but like Castlevania would be amazing. Oh geez, what's that? Zombies Ate My Neighbors would be fun, super fun. It's a zombie apocalypse that's like it'd be like Deadpool but with a zombie apocalypse. It could be a lot of fun. But also, I don't know.
I'm gonna say this. And I actually mean this with 100% sincerity, and I'm not just saying this to piss off Josh. I think one video game right now that if you announced a movie, it would be the #1 movie at the box office when it eventually comes out, would be a Fortnite movie. And I'm actually kind of amazed that they have not announced it yet. And here's why. One, as much as Josh hates it, it's one of the biggest video games in the world and has been for years. So it clearly has the sustainability factor. But two, I don't keep up with the lore, but I play it enough with friends. There is enough story there that you can make up your own stuff. You're not stuck to hard and fast rules like you would be for like a God of War and Uncharted of like, these are things that are definitively happened. You could have it like a freaking Hunger Games of just slap people in the middle of nowhere and just make it up as you go along. Get Illumination, the people that did Despicable Me, to animate it, because I see it as an animated movie to keep the spirit of the game. And also, I think it will be announced by the end of the year. And why do I think that? Because The Rock might have let it slip that he's working on something. The Rock, not too long ago, I feel like it was around the Super Bowl time, was like, yeah, I'm working on a video game adaptation of a beloved thing, but I can't tell you what it is right now. You'll find out soon enough. Well, guess who was introduced as a playable character a few weeks later in Fortnite? Dwayne the Mountain Johnson. So, the Mountain from Game of Thrones fighting The Rock. I need that now. I think there's enough of a built-in audience that I'm honestly surprised no studio executive yet was just like, Fortnite's hip with the kids. Hello, fellow kids. You like them Fortnites? How about you make a Fortnite movie for the kids? The kids love the Fortnite. Merchandising. It's where the money from the movie really comes from. Fortnite. I'm honestly surprised no one said that. And maybe that's the whole, like,
that's the
Apple Epic Games lawsuit maybe tied things up. But I could see a Fortnite movie, and I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened already because of how big the game is. But also, there's no character that you follow in that game specifically, so you can make your own story. You're not beholden to anything.
Yeah, I agree. Like games like Metroid Prime. Like, how have we not had something from that yet?
An R-rated Metroid series on
that would be
Amazon.
So cool. Like this in a market that is in desperate need of female respite. Oh my gosh, female heroes.
So
how have we not?
I would want that show if and only if Samus stays in her prime suit until the finale. Like, you'll have a whole bunch of people that have never played the games before that she takes off her helmet and will realize for the first time, holy crap, that's a girl. Because that's like every kid's rite of passage is realizing that playground discussion talk of, hey, you know Samus is a girl, right? No. What? No.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that happened, there would be those casual people that would just see someone in an armor that's one of the cool things about Metroid is it's not a gender specific costume. So
Hmm.
it just makes Samus a cool character by not having her just be some feminine character. It's just a character, basically,
Yeah.
to the point of like you're shocked that it is a girl. Gosh, why'd you have to put that out there? Now I really want a Metroid. Have like Dark Samus at one point.
Dude, there's so much to do. Like, have like just a weird clash of like a sci-fi shooter and alien. Like, it would just be so cool. There's so much to do there. Like, I'm literally just going through the list of like the top 100 games of all time, and
What happened to the Legend
like
of Zelda show on Netflix?
I don't know. Maybe they saw the original movie and were like, "Oh God, that hasn't aged well."
Well,
Um,
excuse me.
me. A game that came out recently that I don't know if you've ever played or heard about, is Hollow Knight, and would be fantastic as like a show, like an animated show.
Oh, you
Be
mean like
so much
Cuphead?
fun.
Didn't Cuphead get a show recently?
It's got a, I think it's got a movie coming out.
Yeah, Cuphead would be perfect.
Cuphead. Oh, Cuphead.
Cuphead is
So,
frustratingly hard. I don't
oh
like
yeah.
it.
No, it's so hard. We're gonna get it eventually, but like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is coming down basically at this point. It's good. Let's see. More Final Fantasy would be cool.
Tack and the Power of Juju.
Shadow
Oh,
of the Colossus. Oh, that would be fun. Like, this is like basically us like talking about our wish list here at this point.
MLB The Show 2008. Wii Bowling. Who do you think you are? I am.
I am. Fable could be fun. Having a Fable movie. That's not a lot of that, like you said, like not really restrictive as far as storyline wise.
Oh.
Half-Life would be interesting.
A
Portal
Red
could.
Dead Redemption series on
Ooh,
Amazon.
done by Quentin.
Oh, done
Done
by
by
Quentin
Quentin
Tarantino.
Tarantino.
Written by
Ooh.
Vince Gilligan.
Let's go.
And like the style of like it wasn't Westworld. What's the oh, I'm picturing it's like an old school HBO show. Oh. Dang it, that's gonna bother me. Dang it. Oh, but yeah, Red Dead could be good. I know a lot of people have thrown out Grand Theft Auto, but I'm just like, that's the whole premise of Grand Theft Auto is basically just to have a sandbox to just fart around in. There's not a lot of, there is some narrative to Grand Theft Auto, but the fun of it is the sandbox, not the story so much.
Yeah. For our buddy Michael, we should definitely mention Mass Effect because
I'm gonna ask one of my coworkers at work if Mass Effect was to be adapted. Would you rather a movie or a TV show like a Paramount Plus? Because I would lean more towards show because while it does have big bombastic moments, it does rely more on those character moments, so to speak.
Which is, I think, why I think whenever we're talking about, what we would prefer certain properties, at the end of the day, now that streaming has come to be so prevalent and people and companies are actually putting like actual money into their productions on streaming, I'm almost always leaning towards like some of the bigger, more serious games to becoming shows. I think Uncharted would also be, I think, I understand the big set pieces, but I almost feel like you could do more with it as a show. So there's a lot that goes into this, and I think it's definitely not an easy task. It's I think almost harder than doing a book, but I will agree it's in a better place than it was in 2018. I'm just still
Josh has growth
always.
as a person.
Oh yeah. Oh dude. I'm almost 30. I have to grow at some point, right? Not height wise, mentally. Not mentally, emotionally. No, not
Don't
emotionally.
worry, don't worry, folks. He will still laugh at his own farts.
I've been farting this whole episode. It's been awesome. Yeah, no, yeah. It's, dude. I think it's What's interesting to me is I was still even apprehensive about Sonic the Hedgehog 2 until, of course, the trailer. But like,
Really?
yeah, just because it's like I don't know where we go from here, because you either go full in or you don't, and if you don't, it won't be good.
Well, they went all in for sure.
Yes,
Like
they did.
they're the elite. Well, what do you guys think when it comes to video game adaptations, whether it's movie or TVs? It doesn't have the best track record so far, but it definitely has improved within the past few years. Do you see good adaptations coming down the pipeline at some point? What are some adaptations that you really love to see? What are some of your all-time favorite games that you hope don't get turned into an adaptation, and why? We always like hearing from you guys. Comment your thoughts down below. And as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. Help us get to 700 subscribers. That's our goal for the end of the year. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.